Cool, so here's my core restore training system that I worked 15 years on and have 2 US patents on. And I actually sold my first unit a couple weeks ago, so that's a big deal for me. And it will be for sale soon. And it can be put in any kind of modality, from chiropractic to OT to PT to Pilates to yoga to training to sport specific training to movement training to whatever you see fit, because it allows you and gives you 360 degrees of fluid motion that your client or patient is determining how to feel that motion, which is key. And there's many different ways to use it. Right now, what I like to do before I do my muscle activation techniques or before I train people, I want to align their hips. And so what I'm doing with Bill right now is his hips are a little off in all 3 planes of motion. And so I'm gonna load those hips to get them symmetrical so we can do the first movement, which I like to teach people how to rotate, because it's really the first movement that people don't know how to do. It's the movement that we all start to lose as we get older. And if you look at older people, or you walk with people, you see people with disorders, a lot of people are doing the waddling because they can no longer rotate. So rotation is extremely important, and we don't really ever train specifically rotation. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load his hip up. So I noticed when I checked his hips in the rotation and transverse plane that his left hip was, I'm gonna check again. Yeah, his left hip is back, so come over here. I'm glad I didn't do that one. And come this way a little bit. Okay. So now we're going to work on rotation. Okay, and what I'm doing is hooking them up, and these 1 pound pulleys are 1 pound, and they stay consistent through the entire range. And that allows you to sense the muscles that are responsible, the fibers that are responsible for keeping you stable. So Bill, you're gonna put your hands here, and what you're gonna do is just slowly just kind of rotate your left pelvis into my hand and hold right there. And what we're gonna do is just a simple thing called an isometric. And an isometric stimulates the muscles and the nervous system to kind of work together to say, oh, okay, this is what you're doing. Now we're gonna work into that range nice and slow so we can make it more permanent and long lasting. And this is what I usually do with people who are starting the process, because I never wanna do too much. Bill's been doing it for a while, so I'm gonna have him go right into the range next. And then come out. Okay, and then now go as much as you can. Yep, and then he's gonna hold that. Make sure you're breathing. Breathing is extremely important. And then once you have got a couple good breaths, you're gonna come out of that nice and slowly, nice and controlled. Yep, right to neutral. Now you're gonna go back into that range for me. Yep, come back forward. And it's very specific. So Bill, you feel it right in this area, right? So it's very specific to what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to get the muscles to pull the bone back into alignment, basically. Yep, and then we're gonna check. So then I'm gonna hook them out. Now that is much more even. Oh yeah, and you feel that. Yeah, and so from there I would look at the different other planes, the hip hike, which is frontal plane, and then look at the sagittal plane motion, which is front and back tilt of the pelvis. So great, so now I just checked his other 2 planes of motion. Everything looks great. Just doing the one main limited motion kind of solidified the other 3, and so they're all nice and even. So now I'm gonna go through trunk rotation, trunk and pelvic rotation. So here, I'm gonna load them up. And again, these pulleys are unique because these pulleys are telling the nervous system to only, the pulleys are telling the nervous system to only use a certain amount of motor units to move the load. And that's exactly what I want, because it's sensitizing those fibers to understand and feel what it feels like to, quote unquote, rotate. So a lot of times when we do exercise, we have too much force or fluctuating force. So these do not fluctuate. They stay consistent through the 1 pound. So obviously it has 6 of them on, so it has 6 pounds of force on. It's very targeted, but it's very specific. And the more you can increase that contractibility of those muscles, the more chance you have of having a longer lasting whatever you're doing in whatever sport. Like, you're gonna feel much better, and hopefully we're trying to make you more risk adverse, basically, and make you recover much better. So good. So now shoulders a little bit. Yeah. So he's gonna hold that position. Nice 3 deep breaths, and we're doing left trunk rotation at the moment. And obviously Bill's done this for a while. I do it many different ways. And when you're done this 3 breaths, you're gonna come out nice and slowly. And then after that, because if you're starting, we're gonna do really slow movements. If you've done it for a while, then you're gonna do it again for me. Yep, so pelvis, and yep. And then when you get good, you can do it together. A lot of people understand, like all of a sudden they do one motion, they can't do it together. That's another form of compensation. That's a nervous system trying to figure out what you're doing. Again, I'm trying to teach the nervous system to connect all the systems together to understand what you're actually doing. And then I just go through tons of movements in the trunk and the pelvis and the neck, shoulders, you name it. I can access it, teach you how to find it and feel it. And then with the muscle activation techniques, I can activate it, stimulate it, test it, do whatever I can to make sure I understand what I'm doing is actually being accomplished. And that's a huge thing, because a lot of times practitioners will tell you what you're supposed to feel, but I want to back it up with science, I want to back it up with proof, and that's all I do all day long. And these pulleys slide up and down, they move over the place. The intermediate poles move too, so I can get all kinds of different angles and force angles, because as I've learned through muscle activation techniques, it is all about how force is applied on your body. And that if you want a change and you want to adapt in a way that you think you're adapting, you have to have the right force angle when you're applying to the body. So again, now you're going to rotate the right.
Full extension.
Yep, here. So what's good with this too is you can see people compensating all the time. Just do a little correction and they can feel the correction, which is really awesome. And then you're going to slowly come out of that. But now he's doing it. So that's just a very small sample of what I do. I can do numerous things with this. It leaves me open to do many, many different things. So if you're interested in movement or you're interested to know more about your body, I'm definitely the place to come. Core Store here in Athens, 123 Inverness Road. Thanks.